Welcome back to the PEWPEW Zone. This is your host, Mike. In some of our videos, we've briefly talked about the Taurus G3C and how it's related to the G3X. In this video, I'll talk about the Taurus G3X, its specs and features, why it is one of the most talked about subcompact pistols in its CCW weight class, and all the possible drawbacks associated with it. These are all to help you decide whether you should or shouldn't buy one. Before we dive in, I'd like to talk briefly about Taurus, why it's such a polarizing company, and why I'm not a Taurus shill nor am I a Taurus hater. If you've been living under a rock in the last 10 years, you've probably never heard of all the legal mumbo-jumbo surrounding Taurus. This means you're very likely unaware that there was a class action lawsuit filed against the Brazilian firearms manufacturer 7 years ago. In that lawsuit, the plaintiffs included a whole list of pistol models the company had manufactured for over a decade. All the pistols listed on the complaint were alleged to have safety defects. There were documented cases of all the Taurus pistols listed on the lawsuit that had an accidental discharge. There were times the guns would fire on their own whenever their triggers are pulled with their safeties on. There were also times when they would fire whenever they were bumped or dropped without their triggers being pulled. Taurus never openly admitted that the pistol models on the list really were defective. Also, there are a lot of owners of the guns on the list who, to this day, are willing to attest to their Taurus handguns' reliability. Whether the pistol models that were named in the lawsuit have design-related issues or the millions of plaintiffs who complained about them only received lemons, nobody knows. All we can do is speculate. But Taurus did settle the class action lawsuit by paying $39 million more or less. They also gave extended warranties and recalled all the pistols for free repairs. Now, as I said earlier, Taurus is a polarizing company. Some die-hard Taurus fanboys probably already typing at this point in the video, saying it's pointless to talk about a 7-year-old class action lawsuit that had long been settled. To be fair with them, yes, this video is supposed to be about the G3X, which isn't on the list of pistols included in that lawsuit. I reiterate, I'm not a Taurus hater. The fact of the matter is, I do own a stainless Taurus Model 689. I've had it for well over a decade, and I'm holding on to it until I have to pass it on to my son on my deathbed. It's one of the first finest revolvers I've ever owned. It's like a Colt Python knockoff with its vented rib. It has a 6-inch barrel with a full barrel underlug, which makes it front heavy. With factory 158 grain 357 Magnum loads, this heavy Taurus hand cannon shoots 1-inch groups at 50 yards like nobody's business. But I digress. Even before their 2016 class action lawsuit, the quality of Taurus firearms has always had a reputation of being hit or miss. And as I said, the company had to discontinue all the pistol models in the lawsuit. Though they didn't admit it, some of the defective pistols were either designed poorly, others were probably just lemons, and the rest were a combination of both. But the company's G2 and G3 family of pistols have not had issues so far. Owners have all been satisfied, and in my experience, the G3 line is probably the best pistol series Taurus has released, even considering the company's new GX4 series. So what's with the Taurus G3X? The huge majority of Taurus firearms owners who have experienced problems with their guns would tell you that the Brazilian gunmaker builds superb wheel guns and junk semi-auto pistols. While I'm biased toward their revolvers, if there is one Taurus pistol I could recommend to anyone 100% of the time, it'll be the G3X. The Taurus G3X is one handgun that stands out in any field or category of handguns, whether they are full-size, compact, and micro-compact. All major gun brands, makes, and models were subjected to professionally supervised torture tests, and the G3X was the handgun that stood out among them, nicely surpassing a lot of reasonable expectations. The Taurus G3X 9mm, a subcompact 9mm handgun, was created to compete with the Glock 19, and not surprisingly, the G3X's design was heavily influenced by the Glock 19. The new G3X was created by marrying a full-size G3 frame with a compact length slide of the G3C. The result is a hybrid that's almost like the Glock 45, although the G3X is a bit more compact. It is a striker-fired pistol with a polymer frame that ships with two 15-round magazines. The Glock 19, which pretty well sets the bar in this category, and the Taurus G3X are similar in some ways, but they also differ significantly in other important aspects. Additionally, the G3X is very wallet-friendly. But before we talk about its super low MSRP, let's first talk about its specs. Chambered for 9mm, the G3X has a 15+1 round capacity. The polymer frame measures 6.3 inches long, 5.2 inches high, and 1.2 inches wide. The stainless steel barrel is 3.2 inches in length. The slide is made of alloy steel. It's in Tennifer matte black finish with fixed front sights and a serrated steel drift adjustable rear sight. The handgun weighs 22.6 ounces or less than 1.5 pounds. It has a single-action trigger with restrike capability and a measured pull weight of 5.5 pounds, though the printed specs puts it at 6 pounds even. The G3X has no manual safety. A refined element of the G3X which acts as a safety is the 6-pound trigger, designed with a smooth take-up and a surprisingly crisp, clean break exceeding that of the typical striker-fired pistol trigger performance. Compact striker-fired pistols have a wide variety of similar-looking weapons with comparable characteristics and functionalities. It's a competitive market, making it exceedingly difficult for specific guns to stand out. Small advantageous characteristics combined with a competitive price are frequently what set a particular model apart. The Taurus G3X gets high marks in both of those aspects. In terms of size, the barrel of the G3X is a bit shorter than those of many other pistols in the compact category. Like its 3.2-inch barrel, which is almost a full inch shorter than the Glock 19's 4.02-inch long barrel, and most compact pistols have 3.8 to 4-inch barrels. Although the G3X barrel length is closer to what is normal in the micro-compact category, the overall frame dimensions and the grip length are designed to hold 15-round magazines, which is the same capacity as the Glock 19's magazines. The slightly shorter barrel would certainly make a comfortable difference and positively affect mobility while on the carry, especially when in an appendix carry position. Another notable feature of the Taurus G3X is that it has restrike capability, which means that in case you get a light primer strike and the gun doesn't fire, you can pull the trigger again and it will strike the primer again. Although this isn't a feature that would commonly come into play, light primer strikes do happen sometimes. When primers do fail to fire on the first strike, it is because they weren't fully seated into the case to begin with. The G3X's trigger breaks at 5 pounds 8 ounces, which is half a pound less than the 6-pound factory specification. Most triggers on striker-fired handguns typically travel a lot before breaking, but the trigger on the G3X breaks cleanly. The reset is quite pleasant to the touch, and it has a trigger safety bar that must be depressed in order for the gun to be fired. The Taurus G3X ships with two 15-round steel magazines out of the box. The quality of the magazines are noticeably much better than expected, considering the relatively affordable price of the gun. A good magazine can be underrated and overlooked, but a bad one can tarnish an otherwise great gun's function and reputation. For example, if a pistol had a magazine that was having a substantial malfunction, that would really be hard to ignore in even the best pistol. The G3X is simple to shoot and hold on to because of the aggressive grip texture and frame contour. It performs better than other handguns in its class. The recoil action is smooth for a compact 9mm, and the handgun is easy to manage while shooting swiftly and switching between targets. Most of the time, a lower price directly translates into a major reduction in quality, and cheap might actually mean cheap. The Taurus G3X doesn't even give this impression. Instead, it holds its own against more expensive handguns. Though most of the time you'd get what you pay for, the Taurus G3X definitely gives you a lot more, especially when you consider that it has an MSRP of $350. If you're lucky, you can find it with a street price of $250 or less. But as I said earlier, there are downsides to this pistol. Off the top of my head, I can think of two. The first one is, as with all subcompact and microcompact Wonder 9s on the market today, if you have ginormous hands, you might find the relatively short grip of the G3X undesirable. Granted, the problem has a workaround. You can buy some of those longer aftermarket mags that have a mag sleeve installed on them, but that would take away from one of this pistol model's best features, ease of concealment. And one other thing, owners who, again, have relatively bigger hands and spend a lot of time in the range tend to complain about the G3X's slide bite. The pistol's grip was designed such that you'll hold it high. With a high grip, the G3X has a low bore axis, which makes its recoil very easy to control. An easy-to-control recoil results in lower muzzle flip, quicker reacquisition of the sights, and faster and more accurate follow-up shots. But you should wear thick gloves if you're going to mag dump more than a few boxes of ammo. Otherwise, you will bleed because of the slide bite. And that's it for our video today. If you believe there were inaccuracies in this video, or if you think we're just Taurus shills, feel free to let us know by sounding it off in the comments. And please don't forget to click the like, share, and subscribe buttons, and I'll see you in the next video.